pain of climate variations which are less and less. Because of the increase in temperatures and climate variations, you basically have an increase in heat buildup in your greenhouse, for which you need to manage in different ways. We'll get into that in a moment. Because of the managements being centered around shading, there's a reduction in PAR, which means your crop has less light to photosynthesize and your production capacity or potential goes down. Your plants are stressed, your fruit is stressed, there are many downgrades, there's issues with pollination. Energy consumptions go up as well. So if you have a balanced plant system, energy consumption goes up, and you have to fertigate more when it gets hotter. So your inputs cost goes up in terms of water and fertilizers, which especially now are extremely expensive. I don't know, Mukesh, if we can stop the beeping noise. Okay. So classical solutions, which you'll all be familiar with in terms of how to mitigate heat stress, are centered around chalking and shading, which means you have to use shade nets inside of your greenhouse, for example, up depending on what kind of system you're using, which reduces your PAR significantly. So your crop is, you're trying to solve for one problem but create another. In pad and fan systems, and we are actually quite a few still in India, your energy consumption goes up and there's a limit to the amount of efficiency you get out of these systems. So you can still end up with a stressed crop. Misting and fogging systems are quite common as well, which works effectively to reduce your peak VPD, reduce your temperatures. However, the underlying concern and issue you have with all of these, you're compromising something, generally compromising on the amount of available light. You're compromising on your energy intake, and all of these rely either on a climate computer working, a rack and pinion shade screen system working, a manual intervention of somebody in the greenhouse actually deploying shade screens at the right times. And of course, it's also a resource utilization in terms of water for fogging, for example, and also water on your pad and fan system. With the Optocent technology, which includes our heat blocking additive from Iris, this is the first and only technology available currently which has a passive climate control. So you're not reliant on somebody making a decision or a computer working or having any sort of potential system failures in your climate mitigation systems. This will protect you any day, all day, every day. Just to cover a little bit the basic premise of how this additive works inside the Optocent films. So I hope that you can see my cursor. The radiation that comes from the sun, 50% of the energy comes in the form of PAR, so the photosynthetic light that you require for your plants to photosynthesize and grow. The other 50% is basically near infrared energy. The greenhouse is its couple of bodies inside, so this also includes the people. So your plants get hot, your fruit gets hot, your soil gets hot, and your plant is stressed. Now, what this technology is able to do is to maintain a high level of PAR for your photosynthesis to be running on all four cylinders, whilst maintaining a reduced diurnal variation, reduced peak temperatures the days that is necessary, and reduces your reliance on climate mitigation strategies like the fogging, shading, and pad and fan systems. This is a high-level way of considering this. In standard film, you have, let's say, 85, 87% light transmission. But that means that you have light transmission of floating power, great, but you also have transmission of all the NIR, which you have to solve against. In the Optocent technology, you still get all of the PAR. However, we block a large portion of the NIR, which is causing you issues in the farm. So in the Optocin technology for India, we're looking at 35-40% of heat blocking, which reduces temperatures up to 4 or 5 degrees, depending on the day and the amount of radiation. Just to be clear, this is a well-established technology. We've been working with this technology for 5 years. We are deployed in 25 countries globally, and this works really well in a multitude of climates. So I'm happy to show you some results of what we're getting around the world, which are relevant to the climate conditions that you'll experience in India. Okay. If we just focus on the fruit and or the flowers quickly, I hope that everyone here will probably relate to some of the issues that we're showing here. So in this case, we have a cherry tomato, which has an incomplete truss, lack of homogeneity in the ripening, and also some problems in quality in terms of the caliber. So you can see we have some small fruits. I'm sure everyone can relate to this as growing tomatoes. Under Optocin technology, we have a fuller truss, we reduce flower abortion, there's improved pollination, and you have a more homogeneous ripening, which means that you basically get more at a higher quality. Here in this pepper example, I'm sure a lot of you will be spending all day, all year growing your peppers, and then you have a problem with pollination, and the pepper ends up going into a second class or worse, in the bin. With Optocin technology, we help control this and optimize for the pollination, which means you have more fruit which are first class and end up in the markets and giving you an ROI. From a flower perspective, whether it's a flower that becomes a fruit or a flower that becomes a cut flower, in this case a hydrangea, I'm sure that many of you are having flower abortion issues, sticky pollen issues. Here we have a technology which is able to mitigate for that, to maintain good flower quality, whether it's a flower that turns into a pepper or a flower that goes to a shop directly. We're going to focus on peppers for a minute, which is a significant crop, which is very relevant for the Indian market. So this is an example for a climate which is quite similar to Rajasthan, however, very much applicable to the rest of India as well. In this case, we had about 20% more production and higher quality. In addition to this, because the crop is less stressed throughout the cycle, it's able to perform for longer. So we also had a crop extension. So the crop is able to continue to grow for a little bit longer into the months where normally you're not able to grow. The main reason that this was possible is because there was a reduced requirement for shading. In this case, there was no shading required at all. And this is case by case. I'm not saying that you don't need to shade ever again. But in this case, we didn't need to shade, we didn't need to choke, which means the plant had a lot more PAR. PAR becomes sugar and becomes a fruit. In addition to this, because there was a constant passive climate control, the plant was less stressed. There was a reduction in diurnal variation, and this is why the crop was able to continue to perform for longer as well. I think some of you will have met our friend Dankan, who unfortunately is no longer in the company. This is in a farm growing cucumbers, as you can see, in a very hot climate, also similar to Rajasthan, but again, applicable to all the climates in India. Now, this may become repetitive, but again, we had a significant increase in yield, about 11 tons in this case for only a 3-month cycle. So you can repeat this 4 times. So your ROI is 4x that over the year. Again, we had season extension because the crop was less stressed and able to perform well for longer. And most importantly, there was a significant reduction in downgrades. So all of your inputs, or the majority of the input, resulted in a fruit which is saleable. green beans isn't really a big market for India, but I think this is a really useful thing to see. This is at the end of the standard cycle in the Hudia, as it's called. This is a long green bean. This is the same interval at about 120 days. And you can see that the plant in the control is done. It's finished working, it's extremely tired, and there's no more fruit left on there. Under Iris is able to continue to perform. So you can see that the plant is still green, there are still beans on there, and it continues to grow for about 10 days before they had to rip it out. So you have again the season extension. In this case, we had 5 tons more yield. Peak temperature reduction was about 4 degrees. And because, again, we were able to reduce the amount of shading required whilst maintaining temperatures, the crop outperformed and we had better yield. Blueberries is an increasing crop for India. There's more and more farms using this. We've got a couple of installations already as well. This particular installation, you can see that in the control we have leaves which are burned, which is actually as a consequence of having to use fogging and misting systems. So even though you're trying to fix for temperature by misting, which in principle is effective, because you have water droplets on the leaves, with the radiation coming in, you end up burning your leaves. So it's a bit of a compromise on the misting system. In their iris, you can see there's a significant difference in the vigor of the plant. It's much greener. You can see the reproductive shoots are all looking very healthy, and this means your plant is able to perform better. You can see here in terms of yield, we have about 9% increase in yield in the blueberries, and we also have earlier yielding, which generally is the portion of the cycle where you make the most money. So the ROI on this was extremely high. We made about $10,000 more per hectare on this particular plot. Another thing to consider is there was an improvement in quality. One of the issues with heat stress is that fruits in general, but in this case blueberries, will go soft and you have downgrades. Again here, we prevented the issue of having an output which wasn't in line with your input. A slightly different tack. This is especially relevant to the Indian market, and we have a lot of farms already installed in India with Optisun on flowers. We have the climate stabilization, which is really important for the flower growth and for the coloring. We have a reduction in abortion of the flowers, and we have a significant improvement in quality. Here you can see in the roses, we don't have any blackening under iris. We have a bigger head, and actually we also have an increased stem length and an increase in vigor. So the stem is thicker as well. All thanks to having an optimized and more soft climate and reduced diurnal variation. Whilst we have all of these benefits, there's also a reduction potential in inputs. So the plant doesn't need to respirate as much, so there can be also an optimization in the amount of fertigation consumed. So less input costs and then more productive output. So you win both ways. This is a great anecdote from one of our growers who actually didn't need to chalk, and there was so much light inside the greenhouse, the workers had to work south to north in the rows because they were being blinded by the sun. So he said the team now needs sunglasses to work inside the greenhouse. And of course, he had a very positive result. There were no soft fruits, and there was a lot more fruit inside. Just to recapitulate, what does this mean? What does Optisun actually do for you? You get a more predictable yield and quality. This is very important if you have takedown volumes. You have a reduction of peak heat stress as a passive technology. You don't have so much reliance on your active climate mitigation strategies. Because there's a reduction in shading requirements, you have a lot more PAR, so you produce more again. And very importantly, this allows you to reach closer to the genetic potential maximum. So if your the spec for your fruit or vegetable is X kilos, according to your breeder or to the genetics you're using, you're going to come much closer to that number. A big theme that I see across the industry is that everyone focuses on what's on the ground and what structure you're picking, what climate system you're going to use. But what's often overseen is what's coming through your roof. And the sunlight that comes into your greenhouse is considered to be or treated as a commodity. What we're able to do here is to use it as a proper input and to give you the quality of light which you require to really get a good result in your crop. It's not only about quantity of light, it's also about quality of light. And that's what Optison gives you. Okay. I'd be glad to take some questions.
Yeah, thanks, Titoy. So, growers, if you have any questions, so please raise your hand. So, I will read directly. Otherwise, you can also put your question in chat box also. Yeah. So, your yes, Vipul. Yes, Vipulji.
Straight to the pricing. Thank you, Ketan. I'm not in a position to offer you a quotation at this point, Mukesh. I think you're able to maybe give an indication of the current prices or what the difference in prices.
Yeah, so one more question, I think one growers are put in the chat box. How should growers think about ROI when considering switching to Optison?
Sorry, I'm responding to Nirav, who is trying to unmute. Please type your questions inside the text box, Nirav.
Yes, Titoy, I think Titoy, one growers are putting question in chat board. Like the question is, how should growers think about ROI when considering switching to Optison?
Sure. You're going to be able to manage your crop more effectively and, in essence, get more light and a reduction of input requirements for your crop. So if you want to test this for yourself, you need to have a control and Optison, and then you'll see that you'll have an improvement in plant quality, fruit quality, and quantity.
Yeah, and one more question. One growers are asking, what is the first thing I will actually notice when I switch to Optison?
When you walk under an Optison roof, you will straight away feel the difference with the control. Under a normal plastic, you get all of the radiation from the near infrared coming in. Under Optison, you will feel straight away that there's a reduction in heat stress. You'll feel it on the back of your head, on your forehead. It'll be cooler and a better climate for your plants. That's the first thing you'll feel. In terms of what you'll see, very quickly, you'll see that your plant is healthier, greener, and performing better than in a control. And these differences can be seen very quickly. If anyone here has problems with mortality after transplanting, for example, this will help reduce your mortality rate. And then your plant will be more compact because it has more light. And instead of spending time trying to chase the sun, it's just going to produce more.
Yeah, one more question. One growers, Arvind CH. What will happen in winter as it become cold and we get down mildew?
Yeah, great question. So the way this technology works is it blocks a certain portion of near infrared at the roof level. Now, in the summer, when you have a lot of radiation, we block a lot of watts of incoming near infrared. In the winter, there's two things to consider. One, if it's overcast and there are clouds, the clouds themselves are made of water, so they absorb a lot of infrared before the light gets to your greenhouse. So there's actually not much infrared to block in the first place. So what we tend to see is that there's no difference in temperature in the winter. That said, if in the winter you have a clear day and there is still a lot of sun, you're still going to get a big increase in temperature during the day. In that case, OptiSun will manage that, reduce the rate of temperature increase, and reduce the thermal shock. It'll give you some optimization at the maximum temperature.
Yeah, thank you. Tito, one more question. In which film is best for north part of India region?
Yeah, great question. So we have a recipe that will work perfectly for you in the north. Just speak with a team from GreenPro and they will be able to quote you the correct product.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great insight there. I wanted to ask you, in your experience, what do growers often underestimate about the heat stress on their crop performances? Why is it so much important? And what why farmer don't care about heat stress? And what are the main things they underestimate about the heat stress?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Could you rephrase?
Yes. In your experience, what do growers often underestimate about the heat stress on their crop performances?
Underestimate?
Yeah.
I'm not sure people underestimate the heat stress that they have on their crop. It's very visible when your crop is stressed. The leaves are curling, the fruit quality goes down, and the production goes down. I think the issue is people straight away rely on shading, for example. So a lot of people in India are using 50% black shade nets, for example, which cuts also 50% of your NIR. Great, but it cuts 50% of your light. And the issue is plants, when they have light, they're also able to cool themselves. So you're killing off the good radiation when you're trying to solve for the problem. So with OptiSun, you're able to reduce the amount of days and hours that you have to shade, which means there's more light whilst maintaining an acceptable level of NIR. So what that means is your plant not only has the reduction in NIR permanently from the plastic, but because it has more PAR, it's able to cool itself. The differences are incredible. Just put it on your farm, and you can thank me later.
Thanks, Nirav. One of our growers, Rohit Jaiswal, asked a question like, is there a quantity difference analysis of produces under OptiSun and other pollution?
Yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we've been working with this technology for 5 years. Countries, the difference in temperature varies. In the winter, for example, it'll be close to 0. And in the summer, we see 5 degrees plus. It really depends on what region you are in. But absolutely, you will see a difference. Now, something important to bear in mind here is that there's a difference between air temperature and NIR itself. The NIR is the root cause of the issue. The NIR is heating up your crop and your soil directly. The air temperature is something separate. What I mean by that is if you have a pad and fan system and your greenhouse is at 25 degrees, fantastic, you're at 25 degrees. But you still have a load of NIR coming in, which is heating up your plant directly. So you can still have a stressed crop, even though your temperature is good in the air. So what we're doing is we're addressing the root cause of the stress directly. And yes, this will eventually translate as a temperature reduction, which is the symptom of the NIR. So your plant directly will be reduced in temperature, your soil will be reduced in temperature, and as a consequence, the air temperature will also be reduced. So the measuring stick, if temperature is the thing that you want to assess, the best way to assess that is to look at the temperature of the soil or the plant itself. The air temperature is dependent on other variables as well. And of course, a lot of greenhouses have top vents, so there's airflow. Yes, you'll get a difference in air temperature of several degrees, but the better way to check the temperature is in the soil, because that's also relative to the plant temperature, and it's easier to measure soil temperature than leaf temperature.
Yeah. To one of Grove's question, what is the difference between Optison and regular polyfilm sheet regarding maintaining temperature? I think you already cover in your PPT, so right. So if you have any other questions, so please put in the chat box. So definitely, yes, one of our growers, Rohit Jaiswal, has, can we use Optison for nursery purpose?
Thank you, Rohit, for the question. I'm glad you asked. Absolutely. So in a nursery, we have various results from around the world. Because we're able to give back some light and reduce the stress to the plant, it's more compact, it has more vigor, it has a thicker stem, and it has better root zone development. So the quality of the seedlings that you're then giving to your growers is going to be increased, which will improve the performance down the line as well.
तो अगर किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप पूछ सकते हो, ठीक है, चैट में.
I'm just seeing a couple of questions on. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm just seeing some questions on regions.
Yeah.
So somebody's asking if West India is good, and some questions on Kerala. This is going to work for anywhere in India. So it's working in many different climates in 25 countries. We already have installations all over India. Kerala and the west of India are definitely going to see the benefits from this technology. I recommend you put this on your farm as soon as possible, and you can see for yourself. I can't see the chat anymore. Are there any further questions?
Yeah. Are there any questions?
Ketan, what about hill conditions?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Can
need
you
to know
elaborate?
whether it is going to work on a hilly conditions.
Can you elaborate?
On a higher
what you mean by
Higher
conditions?
elevation.
High elevation. Okay, great
Yes.
question. Where are you exactly?
I am situated at 1,400 meter elevated condition in Mahabaleshwar.
Okay, and you're growing under film or net?
Going under film.
Under film, fantastic. So this is the way I look at high elevation. It's similar to the explanation I gave around having controlled environment. Even though at high elevation, you will tend to have a softer climate, at least in the summer, it will be cooler. At higher elevation, you also have more radiation because you're at
That's
higher
correct.
elevation,
That's
closer
correct.
to the sun. So even though your air temperature might be okay, there's still going to be a lot of infrared, which is going to heat up your plant directly. And
That's what I'm
we're-
containing right now.
Exactly. So you're probably still going to experience leaf curling, fruit burn, etc. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this will 100% help you and maintain high light transmission as well.
See, I'm using the Illuminate and high pressure misting system to prevent this, and I have been very successful in growing strawberry around the year in
Fantastic.
substack.
Fantastic. So may I ask what percentage Illuminate you're using?
50%.
Wow. Okay. So on strawberries and tomatoes, they all have a direct linear relationship between the amount of power you give them and the amount of
Correct.
fruit you get back. And strawberries especially are particularly susceptible to heat stress and to reducing in quality. And in addition to that, if you have a high temperature, the fruit will grow too quickly and you will have a small caliber and a lower quality. Optison will address all of those. So with a reduced amount of shading, you have more power. Directly, this will translate in volume. Because the fruit itself is cooled from the Optison technology, it will have a little bit more time to mature and will give you a better caliber. It will be a knock-on effect.
I need to know that when it comes to the sugar transportation, sunlight matters the most. So how do you mitigate this situation?
The sunlight, the bricks.
That's correct.
Correct.
The transportation of sugar from root to the fruit.
Yeah.
That process gets disturbed in uneven sunlight.
100%. So the more lights, like you said, the more bricks. And if you're using a 50% aluminate, you're basically turning the light off inside your greenhouse.
Currently, not in winter.
Not in winter, no, correct. So in the winter, there will be a small compromise. But as soon as you're going into the hotter stages, even though you're not using your aluminate yet, your fruit quality is probably already going to be suffering because it's starting to increase in radiation. This is going to reduce those issues, and then you'll be able to reduce your aluminate use, maybe even eliminate, depending on how hot it gets where you are. And overall, you'll get a better quality fruit and more of it.
I'm planning to eliminate in my next project the complete use of aluminate. Only put 3 colors, blue, red and white, as a shade net on the top, on about 3 meter height. And the top, probably I will discuss with Atul Bhai about the rate and everything. If it is affordable, manageable, doable, then why not?
Yeah.
See, our objective as a strawberry grower is then do not allow leaf temperature to go up at all cost. And
So
the DLI should be around 22 all the time.
Perfect. So Kitan, let's have a chat after this. Ask Mukesh for my number, and me and you can have a chat.
Sure.
Just in a wider group to bear in mind, we're talking and focusing on films today, but this is also available in nets, whether it's an insect net or a shade net, any type of net, we can do this as well.
Correct.
So what I would recommend for you as well, Kitan, and for the wider group, is instead of using black nets or aluminets, is to use the OptiSun net, which will block the same amount of infrared as your current shading system, but give you back a lot of the PAR. So as an example, a 50% aluminate or black net will cut 50% of your PAR and NAR. A 125 gram mono OptiSun shade net will cut 50% of your NIR, but only shade 25%. So you get back a lot of light, and this will give you back all the bricks and production that you want.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitan.
Thanks, Ketanji. Yeah, one of our growers asking the question that if we use nursery, plant growth will be more, less rooting will be happening in polyhouse. In OptiSun, problem will be resolved.
Sorry, what was the problem statement? Can you repeat that, please?
The problem is currently if we use nursery, plant growth will be more, less rooting will be happen. Now happening in polyhouse. In OptiSun, problem will be resolved.
I think we need to have a chat to dive deeper into this, but if you're having problems with root zone temperatures and this is compromising the quality of your stock, then yeah, 100% this is going to help you. Please get in touch. Get my number from Mukesh. I'll be happy to speak with you.
Yeah, sure.
Are you on the WhatsApp?
Yes.
I will do the needful. Thanks.
Thank you, Kitan.
So I think no one have a question. So अगर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है दोस्तों तो आज का ये वेबिनार हम यहाँ पे कंप्लीट करते हैं. बेसिकली हम नेक्स्ट फ्यू डेज यानी कि 15-20 डेज में भी एक और नया वेबिनार लेकर आ रहे हैं जो होगा ऑप्टिसन नेट्स पे. जैसे आज हमारा ग्रीन हाउस पे था ऑप्टिसन ग्रीन हाउस फिल्म में, वैसे ही हम ऑप्टिसन नेट्स पे भी पूरा एक वेबिनार लेकर आए हैं. तो वहां पे भी आपको पूरा हम अपडेट देते जाएंगे और तब भी आप ज्वाइन होकर नई इन्फॉर्मेशन ले सकते हैं. Yes, Ankit Gupta has some question like any trial site in Rajasthan. Yes, Guruji, we will definitely reach out to you and give all the information.
We already have this installed in Camaram. It's working really, really well, Gurav. Just so everyone knows, I'm going to be in India first week of May, and we're going to do a tour please get in touch with Mukesh. We will try to do some grower meet.
Why don't you come down to Mahabaleshwar and meet me? I will host you here.
I would love to, Kitan. Thank you for the invitation. Send us a message. Gaurav, we're doing peppers in Cameroon.
Okay.
I think, Tito, we have no more questions. So,
Okay, Gaurav, please get in touch with Mukesh and get my number. Let's have a chat.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank
so
you so
thank
much.
you guys for providing a good time. Thank you so much, Dr. Titoy, for giving briefly explain about the how optician will work and all the specification and how growers it's take the benefit. So thank you so much, all of you. We will keep in touch and thank you again. वी ग्रीन प्रो आर थैंक यू सो मच ऑल ऑफ यू. आप सभी लोगों का तहे दिल से धन्यवाद. थैंक यू. मिलते हैं नए वेबिनार में नई जानकारी के साथ. धन्यवाद.
Signing off.
Thanks, everyone.